We'll do a little selenite in the camera there. There we go. All right.
I got some pinchas and I was using those. Nice little bit of nice cleansing sounds and music.
Perfect.
All right. So I saw on your page that you are an earth keeper, inspirer of light, and wisdom and truth warrior.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit more about that.
Earth keeper is, it's part, I guess it would tie into the shamanic path. Because we as humans are responsible for taking care of this planet. It is its own consciousness, and we're doing a terrible job. You can see all the destruction of all the natural areas, excuse me, all the, trees that get taken down, and this entire culture is just destructive, and it's just take, and throw it away, because nobody seems to care. So the consciousness will get upset, and that's why we have earthquakes and everything that shakes stuff, or volcanoes, and it's like trying to weed out some of these, I don't know, bugs, I guess is what some humans could be called and stuff, kind of like ants, and you can think of the, like the Matrix, where it would be kind of like a virus in a way that, it's so destructive. It's just not meant to be here, but we can live in harmony. So my role, and as I go along, is to help people reconnect with nature and reconnect with trees, and to be able to really feel, because we are so connected, and that is our healer. You can just go for a walk in the woods and it's going to heal you. You don't even have to do anything. So it's so important to help people reconnect this way. And it just breaks my heart when, you're walking in the woods and all you can hear is the stinking interstate, and it's just this constant noise and dissonance. And there's such a misvibration right now, especially going across the planet. You see everything with, the duality of light and dark and things. So it's so important to really connect and just be mindful of what you're doing, being mindful of what you're really, how you're interacting with nature all around you, bringing in plants, or, treating the trees well and things like that. Inspirer of light it's just, I've discovered that it's like carrying this Awen energy, which is the energy of inspiration. And it's important to me I want to see other people light up. I want to see them turn on their lights and to really come into themselves and to live your best life, whatever that means. I can't tell you anything about that, because nobody can tell you that except for you. It's your conversations and your relationship with yourself and with Great Spirit or Creator. So in order to, help people out doing that, it's, I got into the energy work, and as I've grown, I've really moved into this path, and that is so important to me. And that's why, doing the Raise the Vibe Fair is such a big deal, because it's bringing together this amazing community of, light workers and things, because people need us. And it drives me nuts sometimes, because there seems to be a lot of competition, and it weirds me out, because there isn't competition, because we're all so different. We're all so unique in what we offer everybody, that there's somebody for everybody out there. And that's why these fairs are so great, because we can bring together this amazing group of people for the whole community at large. The other one is, I can't even remember the wisdom. What was it? What did I put on there?
Warrior.
Yeah, truth warrior. I've had something since I can remember about truth and to be authentic. And I know over the years, as the masks come off and the personality changes, because that's personality simply means mask. And as the masks come off, you get really down to your authentic truth. But man, I tell you, it takes a lot of cracking open of that heart and soul in order to really get down to yourself. And it takes immense faith and trust that everything always works out. And truth is so important to me, and truth with a capital T. And there's truth in the universe, and there's also personal truth. And, everybody can have their own personal truth, and it doesn't have to harm another. It's recognizing sometimes when somebody's truth changes or shifts a little bit, that the vibrations will shift, and you just simply move away, and it's okay, because things can come back together. It's all vibration. But I've had such a thing for truth. It drives me nuts too, for dishonesty. And the more I've learned about myself, and I've read different books and things, all of a sudden click. And it's really living living like a warrior's life of just being impeccable and really, sorry, that even makes me choke up a little bit, because it's just living really true to yourself and living a life of truth and not being dishonest, not being deceitful, not trying to hurt other people. And it drives me nuts that that is such a thing that happens, that, you know, people have to hurt others in order to feel better or something, or try to take somebody else's light. That's about the dumbest thing I've ever experienced in things and seen. It's so important just to live your truth, whatever that looks like. So
I love that. I feel exactly the same way. That's amazing. And I love the way you speak about it. You can just tell that it like just echoes in your entire being, and that's amazing. What would you say that your strongest like psychic gifts are? And did you have to develop them, or did they kind of just come one day?
My strongest gifts, I guess I would say, was claircognizance. And that's just something I've had these gifts my entire life, and I never knew it up until like a few years ago when somebody's like, "You're gifted." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No clue. Excuse me. But going through life, like when I was a kid, I also have, I don't even know what to say, because it's like when I look at a gift, I'm like, "Oh, I can do that. I have that. I can do that. I can do that." So it's, I don't even know, you know, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsalient, you know, they all come. It depends what I guess is called for in the situation that's needed. And when I was a child, I spent a lot of time on my own, and I really got to know myself. And I don't remember my childhood being lonely, but I would be very particular about who I hung out with. I didn't have a ton of friends. And as I've gotten older, it's definitely been a understanding of that's just who I am, and also being a very old soul. I'm just tired of people's shit, frankly. So, you know, it just comes about like that. I truly enjoy my own company, and it's not that I exclude other people. It's because I love other people and I need other people, you know, in my life and things. And I have a very wide range of friends. I've had friends for God, years and years and years. My oldest friend, we became friends when I was 12. So, and
Wow.
I would still call her my best friend, you know, and so it's, you know, all these connections and things we get throughout our lifetimes. But when I was a child, I remember I'd spend all this time on my own. I would toss a ball on the roof or shoot hoops in my driveway. And I would always have conversations with what I called God. Growing up in a parochial school, that was my understanding of it, you know, God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and all that. It was still so externalized, though, because in the religion that I grew up with, it was just some mean dude that you kind of talk to or whatever. But, you know, and Jesus was like my buddy, and I'm like, dude, you know, you're cool. And I liked all the songs and stuff. But growing up, I questioned a lot of things with religion, but the connection with spirit has really come a lot through nature, more than anything, especially as I've gotten older. I spent, you know, a long time. I raised a family, and I'm still raising my children, and especially my daughter. But you know, just now it's kind of okay, discovering, and the world just shifted, and it started to bring out these things, and all of a sudden I'm like, what am I even doing? I looked at myself the other day in the mirror, and I said, how did I get here? I was just working a corporate job like 3 years ago and hated it. And then before that, I had a long-term corporate job, which was pretty enjoyable. But it's been an absolute wild path of just trust, blind faith, and really following your heart, because I don't know what else I would do. I'm here to help people. I'm here to have this sort of truth, and that sort of truth can absolutely cut like a mother. It's you know, truth can be pretty harsh, because it's in your face, and this whole world is illusion. So people don't care for that so much, but it's so important, you know, and that kind of ties in with just that whole truth of being truthful, and, you know, being true to things, because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. And, you know, you have to be brave and courageous to shatter all these illusions of others, because it's in the back of your mind, and also that clear cognizance of just being driven to be that guy, I guess, you know, and not to be mean or anything like that, but it's like a role that I willingly fulfill in a lot of ways. And it's definitely been a very strong learning thing coming into all of this stuff. So if you can imagine it, you can do it. It's just people don't open their minds enough, really.
Oh, yeah, that's 100% true. So would you say that your gifts kind of just developed more as you developed your connection with spirit more?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's the more connected I've become too, and it's like the more neurodivergence comes about too, because it's absolutely a superpower. Because if you can think it, if you can dream it, you can think it, you can create it, kind of thing. And I've worked very hard on my mindset over the years, and even as a 17, 18-year-old, when I'd be really partying and using psychedelics, I'm like, how can I expand my mind? What can I do? What can I do to increase my consciousness and see what else is out there? I want to see what's out there. Not even understanding anything about anything. But over the years, it became like this positive thinking mindset. I read this like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm like, yeah, always think positive and have these affirmations. And it's just shifted so much over the years. And now I'm just full force into it. I'm like, okay, we're going to do that now. Let's do it,
Oh, I love that.
Um,
So thinking back at your like 18-year-old self, or somebody who is just kind of like coming into spiritual awakenings and stuff, what bit of advice, knowing what you know now, would you give that person who's maybe just having their first awakening?
Be curious and enjoy it. Because awakening, you awaken to new truths because something shatters inside. And that is a big understanding too, because this whole world now, everybody's, on witch talk and it's like, oh, I'm going to do all this cool stuff and I'm going to get all these cool crystals and I'm going to read all these cool books and I'm all spiritual. And yes, absolutely you are, because you're curious about it, but it's truly the experiences and just simply being human that makes you spiritual, and going through these experiences and not ignoring the dark, because you have to go through that dark in order to get to the light. If you consistently ignore that dark, it's going to catch up with you and you're going to have some really poor experiences, but that can lead to an awakening, and it's all in your mindset. So when somebody like goes into a really dark space, always know that if you're going into it, you're going to be coming out of it once you have that perspective shifted. That's all awakening is. You're awakening to a new truth about yourself. So, and once you have that consciousness understanding to say, I'm awakening to a new truth about myself, it's also, I'm awakening to a new truth about the world, because self is world, when you can start to get that mindset shifted. But that kind of mindset didn't come for me for a long time, but I've been through some absolute destructive times in life, and I had the greatest awakenings from them. But man, it feels like literal hell to go through, but there's always a light on the other side of the dark, because that's from out of the dark, the light is born.
Yeah, exactly. Would you be willing to share any of those dark night of the souls that you may have gone through, and then kind of like how your perspective shifted afterwards and how it changed your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Normally those dark nights of the soul, at least in my life and how I've set up my life, I guess this time, is they'll come through relationships. And usually it's people that I'm dating or whatnot. And actually 10 years ago this month is when I came out. And that was a big awakening right there. But the relationship I ended up in was with a very destructive person. And it was literal heaven and hell. And this was a time when all of a sudden my emotions started to come out, which growing up, there was a lot of trauma and emotions just weren't really a thing. And so all of a sudden I had all these emotions and it would just be crushed and slammed back down. And so I spent almost 3 years with this person, and there was also a few other things going on with children involved and stuff that was extremely destructive too. And looking back, I mean, you can't change the past by any means, but having to go through these experiences were, at the time, it was horrible. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. Thank God I had great friends at that time that, I was really connected with, that I could help get through some of that stuff and help this understanding. But it took me a few years to heal from that relationship in order to not bring like things, you know, it was a total mind mess that, you know, and to bring through things into future relationships that weren't affected from that one. But after that complete destruction, and it was a true destruction of self, man, I really reached down into my core. And I remember I would talk to, I still said God at the time. And I said, I know I'm supposed to be with these people, and I could see why I was supposed to be with these people. And I knew also when the time was completed, you know, because that's one gift that I have too, is to be able to see why I'm going through these different things, or to see these lessons and stuff, but yet still be very human in it, to have to go through it because that's what's necessary. But that has definitely helped. But navigating some of those things, yeah, it was, she was bipolar and narcissist, and it was an absolute education in psychology that instead of going to school, I tend to date them. So, you know, but these are all experiences that we go through in life, you know, and I know that a lot of these experiences that I've gone through are meant to help others in relationships, because there's some weird stuff out there, and my experiences, firsthand knowledge of stuff, is I can help people out of this and through it. But man, does it take courage. It absolutely takes courage. And there's so many people that stay in these relationships because they're just used to somebody, or I don't know if I can get better, because that void in between is terrifying, because it's unknown, you know, it's the dark. You know, so that was a very destructive time in my life. And after that, you know, when you go through this too, you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes you take on some of these behaviors and you end up, you know, hurting other people too. But everything is just all about learning, you know, and the older you get and the more, I guess, open you get or choose to be, you know, choosing to, you know, you learn what would you really like in somebody. And, you know, so you go through all of these things. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy whirlwind, but everything in relationships always comes down to knowing yourself better. It's the relationship with self that matters, because with that is how, you know, you're not filling a hole with somebody else. You're not just attracted to them. You actually have a compatibility, you know, and you work on a relationship and stuff. But that only came through going through literal hell a few times.
I love what you touched on with the, you know, we're human and we have to go through these human experiences. And so sometimes you just have to experience these things in order to learn. And that's so powerful. Like, I know for me, especially when I'm having a hard time, like, it's really helpful to remember that I'm human. This is just something I have to go through, and it makes it a little easier at least. So I'm really happy you touched on that. That's awesome. What would you say that your daily spiritual practice is like now, and how has it evolved over time?
It's evolved over time in the sense that I'm just a lot more conscious of it, and it's become the most important thing to me. And I don't necessarily, like, I've even learned to incorporate prayer. And it's really manifesting, because you're praying in a present tense, you know, as if you already have it. It's just manifesting. But learning to communicate with these different beings in the other worlds, that's been a whole education in and of itself too, because not all of them are great. So, you know, it's every single aspect. I can speak for myself, like I'm sure other people too, but the consciousness that I've moved into is, I'm very aware of all of these things, and I'm learning on literally every single level. But my daily practice is, you know, I wake up in the morning and I do a meditation to connect and just center myself and really connect in with my heart space. I work with a lot of the angels because they are so high vibrational. And I also work with some different old, you know, what you'd say gods and goddesses and stuff. Athena is one of my favorites. And you know, it's connecting with these different energies along with the power animals, depending upon kind of like what energy you're looking for at that time, because it's a relationship with these things. So, I mean, throughout the day, I'm always talking with spirit in some way, shape, or form. You know, whether it's throughout my day and I'm kind of yelling at my guides and be like, "Oh, what the hell is going on now? Oh my gosh," you know, or looking at a tree and just smiling because it just says something to me, you know. It's a constant thing, and I wouldn't change that for the world. It's the best connection, and it's really, it's really difficult to articulate, but I can see it how it's connecting through self, and with self is connecting directly to source creator, because we are source creator, but yet I'm not like ego and say I'm God, or anything like that. It's just, I'm honored to be I'm honored to be a representative of the light of source creator, or something like that. That's kind of some way that I can sort of say it, but it's different. And throughout the day, I mean, sometimes I'll check my cards and stuff, but usually I just tune into what I'm feeling. When I start to have different emotions like anxiety kicking up or something, I step back. I'm like, no, this isn't my anxiety, but I still have to very much deal with that, because the more the gifts open, the more these things start to really open too, because you're becoming a lot more open and picking up the world's energy and everything. So
what advice would you give to somebody who maybe sometimes can communicate with their guides, but not all the time, and they want to communicate more?
be patient and trust. That's the best advice, because when you try to force things, you're developing a relation. It's just like when you're developing a relationship with another person. It's the same thing with spirits. So you can't like, come on, you dorks, get in here or whatever. I mean, you sometimes can, but you still got to, it's a respect thing too. To connect stronger with the guides, it's always through the heart. Always go through the heart. That is going to be the number one connection with everything, and learning heart math or heart coherence, and just how to get into the heart space, because that's where the divine chakras and the earth chakras meet. So that is our power center. That is our energy center. And you can bring things in through your heart and to connect with the guides a bit more. Sometimes if you've had a great connection and you can, really hear them very well, or see them very well, all of a sudden they're going to shut off that sense, and you might feel them better, or you might smell them, because they'll tend to work on different aspects of your gifts, or even just the 5 earth senses here that we have, so that way you can kind of practice. But it's just keeping that open mind, and being really open to what's coming in, and being mindful to what's coming in, and knowing yourself, because without that you can invite some really weird stuff in. So it's really knowing yourself, and always using the violet flame is a wonderful technique also, to always have them walk through that, because like bad ones won't be able to. So
yeah, so my next question was going to be just kind of about like protection against those beings that maybe aren't for the best. So the violet flame, that's just a visualization that you use?
Yeah, absolutely. You put that right in front of you and be like, walk through it. And the bad ones can't walk through it. They'll like dissolve, or they'll be real hesitant about it. So it's like, okay, go away. And you can once you get comfortable talking with them, you can tell them to go away, or ask them to come in. You can also tell them, show me something, show me that you're here, really make me feel that you're here. You can call them out on that. For protection, the best advice I could ever give is to keep your vibration high, and have like 1 or 2 guides that you work with that you trust and and that way you can also ask them for help in differentiating these other guides, because you can get some tricksters that come in too. Make sure you're smudging, keeping your energy field clean, Epsom salt, holy water is a great thing to do. I work a lot with Saint Michael, Archangel, and also Saint Benedict, because they're such protective energies. And I actually have a thing of prayers that I sometimes say daily, just because I want that energy around me, and I want to be fully protected. I don't want to have to worry about it. Christ consciousness is one badass to work with. He is absolutely amazing. And anytime you're afraid of something, you can call him. He's there in a heartbeat. And it's this pure love energy. But man, he's strong. He's very strong. So yeah, that kind of protection is very good. So
I love that. So in your opinion, what is the most essential like personality trait or strength that a person would need if they wanted to start a spiritual business? Because I know a lot of people that become spiritual, so many people, it's the dream to kind of like have your own space and do it for a living. So what do you think that personality trait or strength a person would need to be successful at that?
Being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can fake it till you make it in a way, but spirit's going to call you out if you're full of it. So, if you really want to get into like doing this for a business and things, it takes a heck of a lot of faith, a heck of a lot of trust, and it's truly knowing yourself is the best advice I could give anybody in that, because there will come times when you're like, I just want to quit, like screw it all, this is like this dumb, but you do that with any like job that you do, but always making sure you're being true to yourself. That is the utmost top thing to do, because without that, you can't put your energy into something you're not into. You just can't. And it's okay to change things up all the time and shift things. I mean, I've shifted my services a bunch of times because like, well, that sounds really silly. That's kind of dumb, and so I'll shift it and stuff. And then I'm like, why did I do that, man? People really like that one, and stuff like that. So it's just this ever evolving thing, and don't stay the same. Don't be like other people. I fall into that trap a lot too, that it's a very common thing that instead of like doing things for yourself, you start to do things based on what you think other people want or their opinions and stuff. And it's like, whoa, stop, hold on a second, let me recenter. What do I need? Because when you really are strong inside of yourself and you know yourself very well, what you put out there, you're going to attract, because you're being fully in your power, you're being fully, in your passion of whatever that is. So never be afraid to learn. There's learning all the time.
So what advice would you give somebody who maybe is still kind of overcoming some of that like conditioning from parents and, life, but they want to get to know themselves and they're not really sure where to start? What would you say to that person?
Just to simply start. It's life is throughout life, there's always going to be things that are going to be opening up. Because once you get through this lifetime, you got the past lifetimes to deal with, so life is all about healing and about knowing yourself. And to know yourself is in this moment. What's your connection? Just in this moment, because there is no other moment that exists. And the more you go along in your life and the more you know yourself, the more you can trust yourself, and the more things are going to expand and you're going to find your path a lot better. There really isn't like a starting place other than stopping and just knowing yourself. And I guess the best I don't know if I want to call it like activity to do would be to just start meditating, and without overthinking it. You don't have to do like 20 minutes a day. You could start with like 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes every other day. You're going to be ahead of the game. And the monkey mind, it's okay. It is 100% okay. When that's a struggle, get on a guided meditation. Even guided meditations, my brain will wander. I'm like, well, what were they saying? But it's never being upset with yourself, because it's just a part of the whole learning and stuff, So when that brain wanders, don't get frustrated, just patiently bring it back to your breath and, go from there. Because from that, when you get into your heart space is how you know yourself, your true self. So.
Great. Okay, so I've got one more question for you. What is a question that you wish I would have asked, and how would you have answered it?
Oh boy, that one I don't know. I'm pretty random with any kind of question. You could ask all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Just with, I don't know. Because it's like I have so many things going on. And I've learned that about my own self, which I finally got like a human design chart read, and I learned about myself, and like I am 3 people, because I've been joking for literally like 2-3 years now. I'm like, I've built this life for like 3 people, because I got Magic Hands Reiki and Angels of Awen and Raise the Vibe Fair, and I even have like a small clothing company that I'm starting up and stuff. It's called Trickster Clothing Company, and I play guitar, and starting a little music thing, and just all these like wild things. And I'm like, God, how did I get here? And I was, oh, now it makes sense. I have a triple split definition. So I'm like, I am 3 people. So it just makes it hard for the one person to manage all of that stuff.
All right, awesome. So now if you'd like to take a little time and just kind of explain what you offer and how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. Well, currently I offer Reiki sessions and shamanic healing sessions, also land and home cleansings, get rid of those dirty dark ones and stuff. Take the drum in. I also belong to a paranormal team. So, you know, if something is pretty heavy duty, there's multiple people that can come in and help and stuff. I do psychic work. I don't do so much on the mediumship quite yet. I'm just working on more. I connect very well with angels and aliens, but past loved ones is still like, I get my head on that. So working on that. But yeah, the current services, they're available on magichandsreiki.com. And I also have angelsofalwyn.com, which that one is kind of like, there's some really exciting things coming for that one. So I'm excited to see how that'll come about. I'm kind of all over the place on Magic Hands Reiki. So Facebook, Instagram, all under Magic Hands Reiki, and YouTube, Magic Hands Reiki. I love doing fun videos on there. Raise the Vibe Fair, that's a super exciting event coming up March 27th at the Holiday Inn and Convention Center in Stevens Point. So we're working on finalizing all the vendors and everything. We have a great crew this year. And that is Raise the Vibe Fair on Instagram, Facebook, and that one can be found also on magichandsreiki.com, Raise the Vibe Fair, and angelsofalwyn.com, Raise the Vibe Fair. And that gets advertised all over the place. So we should have a wonderful attendance this year. We have gallery reading, we have spiritual channeling, do a shamanic drum circle, and a few other classes mixed in there. So super excited about those events. I'm found on Facebook. I post some crazy stuff, but Facebook's really frustrating to me. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay on there, but it's Dawn Provo Wacholtz. I just throw all the names out there, have a public profile. So anybody can learn stuff about me. Like I don't hide stuff, you know, because it drives me nuts. Again, I'm all about truth. So truth and authenticity. So, and let me think, I think that's it. magichandsreiki@gmail.com. I think that's about it. Also do, I just want to talk about my woodworking a little bit too. All right. Yeah, I'm going to go grab actually a couple of those grids real quick here. They're just right across the.
Show everybody these earrings that I'm wearing. Oh man, it's so hard to see. Put them against my pale skin. Let's see. So these are little lotus flowers made of wood, and Dawn made these, and they are fantastic.
Yeah, these are sacred geometry, and they're all individually handcrafted. I work on a scroll saw, and they are sort of available for order. I haven't posted the links quite yet because I've been so busy with the other 3 lives that I'm living with Raise the Vibe. I'm also president of Dual County Women's Softball League in the center of Wisconsin, so that takes up a little bit of time also. So one of these days I'm going to relax, but I'm a Virgo, Scorpio, Aries, so welcome to my world.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being interviewed today, and
thank you, Claire.
You have a good night, and thanks everybody for watching.
Have a good night.
Bye.